Hello everyone, welcome back to the workshop. Today I want to talk about the trip I've just come back from to Sardinia. I went to Sardinia on the BMW R1200 GS with my wife. It's the first holiday we've been on this bike, and we've done quite a few thousand miles in the UK, but it's the first trip we've done on it. And today I want to talk about why we went to Sardinia, how did we get there, which route did we take, where did we stay in Sardinia, what was the accommodation like, what's it like riding on the island, because it's quite a destination for bikers, what the beaches are like, what route we took back, and is it worth going? Is Sardinia actually a place that you want to go on holiday with your bike? Because it may not be. So, why did we go? Last year we did a trip to Mallorca on our Triumph T120, and it was great. It was a sort of a motorcycle tour incorporated into a beach holiday, and it worked really well. We liked Mallorca a lot. So we thought this year we'd go a bit further afield, go to Sardinia. So you can get a ferry from the south of France to Sardinia with Corsica ferries. So what we did was I booked a ferry from the UK in Newhaven to Dieppe. We had everything ready to go. I looked up on Google Maps to see how long it would take us to get down to Newhaven, because we're in the West Midlands in the UK. And he said it was going to take about 3 hours and 5 minutes, which was fine. So anyway, we had quite an early start because we had to be at the ferry at 9:30. So anyway, got up in the morning and got ourselves sorted out, and we knew it was, we needed to get moving. And I looked on Google Maps just quickly to see how long will it take, just to double check, and it said it was going to take 4 hours, which I had not factored in. Where this extra 55 minutes or so came from, I've got no idea. Anyway, we were then late. Before we even left, we were late. So we set off, and we had, I don't know how far it is, it's about 170 odd miles, 175 miles from where we are to Newhaven. And we set off, we basically hurtled down the motorway, and every single delay that you could possibly imagine we encountered. There were roadworks, there were accidents, there was slow traffic just because of the volume of traffic. The M25 car park was pretty bad. It was tricky, and we got to Newhaven, and I've been on ferry trips. I mean, I've been on dozens, and sometimes I've cut it fine, not deliberately, but it just happened that way. But when we got to Newhaven, the gates were shut. The boat was loaded, and the gates were shut, and I thought, oh bugger. Anyway, I had a chat with one of the officials, explained the situation, basically laid it on a bit thick, and he said, let me see what I can do. So he went off and made a phone call to somebody and came back about 5 minutes later and said, yeah, okay, I'm going to open the gates. I've had permission to open the gates. Anyway, a few minutes later the gates opened, we went through, and we were the last vehicle on the boat. Absolute, I mean, by the skin of our teeth. Anyway, got to France. We got to France about 4 p.m. roughly, and we headed towards Reims, or Reims, as some people might pronounce it, which is not correct. And we overnighted. There was no sightseeing or anything there because we didn't get to the hotel till about 8 o'clock, and we overnighted there, and then we set off for Bourg-en-Bresse. And I don't know if you've ever been to Bourg-en-Bresse, but it's a really lovely little town. It's got the most beautiful monastery there, really spectacular building. And in the evening, we wandered into the town, a beautiful medieval town, lovely streets, loads of people eating out. It's typical sort of summer French environment. And there was a chap singing or murdering a tune. And it was lovely. We didn't need to eat because we'd had a good lunch that day, and we just had a nice drink in a nice open air bar. It was great. And then the next morning we set off to get to Nice, because that's where the ferry was leaving from to get to Sardinia. Had a really nice ride down through France to Nice, and we got to the ferry in plenty of time. Anyway, we're going with Corsica ferries, which certainly in our experience are the cabins are good, but the organisation is just abysmal. And we had it was an overnight ferry to Sardinia, and we left Nice. And the next morning we woke up, absolutely flat, calm crossing. We woke up in Sardinia, which was lovely. And took ages to get off the boat. I mean, it was just complete disorganised chaos. But very quickly we got onto the motorway. We had about 230 kilometres to go to get to our accommodation. Now, we were staying in an apartment with a lovely terrace and a sea view on about halfway down Sardinia on the east coast. Sardinia is huge. I mean, you can probably see on the map that it's huge, but it is absolutely huge. I don't know. I think I worked out that if you were riding from the top, because we went into a place called Porto Torres, but if you were riding from Porto Torres down to the capital at the bottom, it would basically take you all day. Even riding quite rapidly. So we were staying at a place called Santa Maria Navarrese. Which is a very nice little town right on the coast. It's got a really nice beach. There's nothing really going on there. There's a small marina, and it's all local. There's 2 or 3 hotels, but I mean it's all local. It's not touristy at all, and it was really nice in that respect. It wasn't like some parts of the Mediterranean which have been ruined by tourism. It was very, very quaint. Anyway, I think probably one of the first things I noticed when we arrived in Sardinia, excuse me, was the amount of litter. On the motorways, there's litter in a lot of places, apart from France, obviously, unless you're in the south, and then there's loads. But yeah, on the motorways in Sardinia, there are lay-bys, there are pull-ins. And there are on some of them there are mountains of litter. I mean, people have taken litter to these lay-bys to dump it, which is extraordinary. Beautiful island, completely ruined by the locals, which is sad, very sad. Anyway, got to our accommodation. It was a great apartment, and we were going to be there for 12 days. So. While we were on the island, the plan was a bit of a beach holiday. We'd taken our masks and snorkels with us. We were hoping to see the last 2 fish remaining in the Mediterranean because the Mediterranean's been completely fished out. We were, of course, spoiled because we were in the Caribbean in January and there's just billions of fish. But we thought we'll try and spot the last 2 remaining fish in the Mediterranean. And also we wanted to do some riding because the mountains are supposed to be beautiful, and there's loads of bikers go to Sardinia to ride, so we wanted to do some of that as well. So as far as the beaches are concerned, we went, there was a beach right on our doorstep, literally about 150 metres from where we were staying, which was really nice. Beautiful clear water. It has to be said, the water is absolutely crystal clear. We went north. We went up to a place called San Teodoro, which was massively touristy. The beach was absolutely rammed with people. Beautiful white sand and the most amazing emerald green sea because of obviously the sun and the sand. It was really beautiful. But you were literally, your beach towel was about 20 centimetres from the next person, and the whole beach was just like this sea of people, which isn't our cup of tea at all. But we'd driven 140 kilometres or more, actually, about 170 kilometres to get to this place. And that's what harks back to the size of Sardinia, because we had visions of. We'd base ourselves roughly in the middle, one side or the other, and we chose the east side, and then we'd sort of ping off and go and visit places. But the distances are so vast that it's not really credible. What you'd be better off doing if you were going would be to say, right, we'll base ourselves in the north and do the north, and if we want to go and do the south, we'll move. We'll do like a two-centre place, and we'll base ourselves in the south to do the other half, or go there more than once. I mean, you know, it's permissible. So yeah, Santiago was interesting. We also went south to a really nice beach called Spiaggi di Foxi, which was a really nice ride through the mountains to get to this very, very quaint cove. There was sort of a series of little coves, and on one occasion we sort of meandered down this dirt track on the bike. And we came to this beautiful little cove. I mean, there was literally, if it was 50 metres long, that was as long as it was. And there was 2 or 3 locals just sitting there, you know, on the beach doing whatever they do. And we parked ourselves, and we had a very nice time. So, in terms of riding on the island, the road surfaces are variable. Some of the road surfaces are absolutely perfect. I mean, literally billiard table smooth. You know, fairly new, certainly, you know, less than 5 years old. And others are atrocious. Loads of broken tarmac. We did a ride. I looked up on Google what's the best motorcycle road in Sardinia, and several websites said that there is a road between on the west coast between Bosa and Alghero. Now, Bosa was 160 kilometres from where we were, and of course then you've got to go north up this road to Alghero, which is another about 45 kilometres. So we decided we were going to do it. You know, I mean, we'd ridden rather, you know, 170 miles to go, kilometres to go for a swim. So doing 160 to get to this place to do this road, we thought was reasonable. So anyway, we rode to Bosa, which was fine. It was a nice ride. You know, lots of stuff going on. And then we started this road, which basically hugs the coast. You know, it's a real windy road, loads of switchbacks and everything, but it hugs the coast. You know, you've got the sea on one side as you're going north, and the mountains on the other. And it's really, pardon me, it's really quite spectacular, the actual views. But the road is bloody atrocious. I mean, it is one of the worst roads. Not the worst, but it's not like Hungary. If you've seen my video about going to Romania. But the road surface was appallingly bad. I mean, loads and loads of broken tarmac, great stretches where you'd have, you know, a pothole 3 or 4 inches deep, you know, that meandered along the road, and you're trying to negotiate all this and enjoy the views and make sure you don't crash. Whoever wrote this piece, and it was on several websites, saying it's one of the best motorcycling roads in Sardinia, has clearly never ridden a motorcycle. Because in my book, the #1 criteria for a good biking road is it's got a good surface. Because then you don't need to worry about this, you know, that's one thing less to worry about. You can worry about all the other things that keep you alive, but you don't need to worry about the surface. But this was appallingly bad. Bosa was really nice, a nice little quaint town, and Alghero was pretty touristy again. It seems to me the further north you go, the more touristy it got. And Alghero was quite a big town. We had a lovely lunch in Alghero, really, really spectacular lunch in a little back street. I booked this place recommendation on TripAdvisor, and it really did live up to what they said it was, and not stupidly expensive either. So that was okay. And then when we rode back down the road, because I thought, well, okay, it was utterly crap going north. Maybe it'll be better going south. Well, it wasn't. It was equally bad. And then we decided one day we were going to take a dedicated ride up into the mountains. We were going to like head west, sort of southwest, go up through the middle north, and then loop around back east to where we were staying. And so I plotted this sort of route from going from one town to the next on this particular circuit, and it was fantastic. I mean, really, really lovely. We went through some beautiful mountain villages. the purpose of which I've got no idea. I've no idea why these places exist, because normally, if you think about it, most places exist because of transport links, either modern or ancient. You know, if you think about I don't know, London. You know, London's only there because of the River Thames. And you know, Oxford is only there because of the River Thames, and lots of other places. Paris is only there because of the River Seine. But these places were like clinging to the sides of these mountains, and you thought, well, why? Who thought it was a good idea to put a little town here or a big village? You know, because they were bigger than a small village. But they would be lovely, very quaint, quiet. You know, sort of some of them were like one-horse towns, but really, really lovely. The other thing of note on that particular day was there was a hell of a lot of motorcyclists that had the same idea as we did, in that they wanted to go and enjoy the roads, even though the surface could be questionable. Now, I've seen some poor riding, bike riding and driving in my life. I've ridden in dozens of different countries, and I've been on trips where people have killed themselves because they were idiots, and I've seen some really appallingly bad riding. But I don't think I've ever seen such poor riding on this road on this trip. We were overtaken by lots and lots of bikes going, I mean, ridiculously excessive speeds. I mean, they were using the road as a racetrack. It was like they were on the Nürburgring and there was nothing coming the other way. But there were lots of things coming the other way. It was unbelievable. And I would say 95% of the bikers we saw were German. And certainly our interactions with the Germans were bloody miserable. They were absolutely outrageously maniacs on the road. They were overdressed and they were bloody miserable. And on one particular section, I mean, we got overtaken by some people, and I just thought, I was waiting for a crash. I mean, I said to Michelle, we're going to find someone in a ditch, and for sure. I mean, this is going to happen, you know, absolutely no doubt whatsoever. And about an hour later, sure enough, driving along this road, there's two ambulances. There's clearly someone in one of them being treated, and there's 5 or 6 bikers who are wondering whether their mate is going to make it or not. And the whole thing, totally avoidable, absolutely, completely unnecessary. I mean, we weren't riding like snails, but we were there to see the place. You know, I mean, that was the whole point of going. You know, if you want to do a track day, go to a track. But I mean, it was crazy, absolutely crazy. And I'm not surprised that this person crashed, and I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't make it, or she. But yeah, it was that was some of the riding on the island. The other thing to be aware of if you go to Sardinia is the standard of driving by the locals is absolutely mad. I've never experienced such aggressive driving ever, anywhere. It's like your death as a motorcyclist, because we are vulnerable, is insignificant in my quest to get where I want to get as quickly as possible. You are merely an obstacle to be removed from the road. We had 2 incidents of note. On one of them, we were riding along. We were coming back from the beach, actually. We were coming back from Spiaggia di Foxy. And we're on this, we got sort of, I don't know, 80 kilometres to go. And we're on this main road. Speed limit was 90. I was doing about 95, between 95 and 100. And it was, I had the bike on cruise control. So we're just, you know, sitting there riding along. And this guy came along behind me. And he had opportunities to pass me, but he didn't. He sat, I mean, I'm not joking, not more than a metre behind me from my back wheel. And I thought, well, I can't do anything. I mean, if I close my throttle or just even ease off a bit, he's going to come into the back of me. It was bloody terrifying because I literally just sat there and held my position, held my speed, waiting for him to please just get past me, you know. Anyway, he followed me for about 3 kilometres, and then he overtook, so close I could have reached out and touched his car. It was completely mad driving. And as he overtook me, he shook his fist out the window. And you're thinking, and your point is, you know, it was mental, absolutely bloody mental. The other one involved an Audi driver, so enough said, really. So that was pretty much the holiday. Our route back, there was some poor weather coming along, or that was forecast. Certainly, we didn't actually experience any. And we thought what we'll do is we'll go over to the west coast, because we had to get back to Porto Torres, to Oristano. I booked a restaurant in Oristano in a sort of out of the way place. We had a really lovely meal, and then we meandered our way back up to Porto Torres to get the ferry back to Nice. Again, it was an overnight ferry. So we get into Nice, and the boat got in about 8:30 in the morning. And so we got out of our cabin, and we took our gear up to, because all we had was basically like a bag to just a ratchet strap onto the not bungee strap onto the bike. And so we had a cup of coffee in the restaurant, and there was loads of people, you know, because you're all waiting to be told to go down to your vehicle, you know, because we're on like deck 6 or something, or 7. We were in this restaurant. Anyway, they announced everyone on deck 3 go down to your vehicle. Okay, well, we were on deck 2 along with all the other bikes. There were about 40 or 50 other bikes on the boat. So we just waited, and we waited and waited, and as the restaurant emptied. You know, this big restaurant, and there was just us and this couple all the way down there. So I said to Michelle, I'm going to let's go and ask these people, you know, do they know something we don't know? Because they haven't called us. Nobody's called deck 2. So anyway, we went to chat to them, and they were French, and they were on a bike, and they said, well, you know, they haven't been called, so we're waiting. So anyway, then this chap came along, this sort of Corsica Ferries official, and he said, oh, you need to go to deck 4. Go to deck 4 and await instructions. So fine, okay, we'll go to deck 4. So we went down to deck 4. On deck 4, there's nobody there, no one. The only people on the boat were Corsica Ferries staff. So I thought, oh, bollocks to this. We'll go down to deck 2 and see what's going on. So we went down to deck 2. The deck was completely empty apart from these 2 motorcycles, ours and this French couple. Now, how the other motorcyclists managed to telepathically know to go down to deck 2, I've got no idea. No idea. And when we left the boat, we were the only vehicles left on the boat. Everyone had gone apart from us. It was mad, absolutely mad. And then we joined the traffic to get out of Nice. It took us nearly an hour to get out of Nice because the traffic's mental, as it often is in the south of France. I mean, people rave about the south of France. Oh, the south of France, so beautiful. The lavender fields, oh, the sunshine, yeah, and all that. Well, it's also like massively overcrowded, generally scruffy. Nice has got a rat infestation, and has had for donkey's years. In fact, I remember once being in Nice in a hotel about 5-6 years ago, and laying on the bed. I just had a shower, and I was just laying on my bed, and a cockroach ran over me. And when I went to reception to complain, they just said, "Oh yeah, are we? Yeah." You know, as if like, oh, it's the most normal thing in the world that cockroaches are running over you. But anyway, that's just an aside. So we rode up from Nice to Millau, where the famous bridge is, or some people might pronounce it Milo, but it's pronounced Millau. And we stayed in a hotel in the centre of town. I've never stayed in Millau before. I've been through it dozens of times. It's a lovely, lovely area if you ever get the chance to go. It's really beautiful. And we checked into this hotel where there were also another load of German bikers, as it happened. I'm sure they were following us. We walked into town, had a lovely meal, and then the next morning we headed off to a place just south of Limoges, where we were going to stay with some friends for a few days. And we left Millau and we went up the A75 motorway, toll-free, for about 120 kilometres. Pardon me. And then we branched off to go west, and we went through the Cantal region, which is part of the Massif Central. And I mean, it's so blooming beautiful there. I would say, to be honest with you, as beautiful as the mountains are in Sardinia, that particular day was probably the most spectacularly beautiful of the entire trip. It was just so lovely. Lovely roads. I mean, you know, you're in France. No litter. You know, roads that have got the most fantastic surface on. It was a really great ride. And then stayed with our friends for a few days, and then headed up to Caen to get the overnight ferry to Portsmouth. Got to Portsmouth 6:30 in the morning. This was last Tuesday, and we rode up home, 160 something miles. And that was the end of the trip. We did 3,358 miles altogether, door to door. And we were in Sardinia for 12 days. We were away for about 3 weeks, but that included, you know, a couple of days with some friends. Is Sardinia worth going to? Sardinia was very interesting. To be honest with you, I warmed to the place the longer I was there. To be honest, I found that the dealing with the drivers, the incredibly aggressive drivers in Sardinia, it took some getting used to, but there was a method. Basically, just keep an eye more on what's behind you than what's in front. And if someone comes up behind you, which they will invariably, then just pull over, because whatever happens, they're going to overtake you. Even if there's no room, they're going to overtake you. So the best thing to do, just pull over to the right, and just stay as close to the white line at the edge of the road as you think is safe, and they will then overtake you. In fact, I had a couple of people wave to say thanks for me doing that. So it was almost accommodating their aggression, if you like. So that worked okay. It wasn't particularly expensive. We'd heard that it was very expensive to be there. €2 a litre. That's pretty much what we paid while we were there. We didn't find it massively expensive. Our accommodation for 12 days in a very nice apartment was less than €1,000, so we didn't think that was too bad. Eating out, you know, I mean, obviously it depends what you eat. The one thing I was surprised about is how many, everywhere does pizza, everywhere. You know, you can go to, we went to a really, pretty top-end restaurant while we were in Santa Maria Navarrete, and it was the worst meal of the holiday, absolute worst meal. It was not cooked properly, cold. It was rubbish. And we had some lovely meals. The last meal we had in Oristano was it was like a workers' restaurant. You know, there were like tradesmen that were in there having their lunch. And, you know, it was one of the cheapest meals we had and one of the nicest. Lovely service. The other thing is the people, our interactions with Sardinians, I would say without exception, was good. Lovely people, friendly, smiley, happy to accommodate whatever you need. You know, there was absolutely nothing negative to say about the people we interacted with. So would I go there again? I probably would, to be honest. I'd go to the south because I've done the north. Certainly more of the north than the south, it is worth going to, and certainly the ferries, Corsica Ferries, although the organisation is like abysmal, is not expensive. I mean, when you consider what Brittany ferries are charging, I'm hoping to get to Spain in the next 3 weeks or so on my little CRF 250 to do some of the mountain trails in the Pyrenees, and I need to go soon because otherwise the weather's going to be too cold. And I mean, by the end of October it's starting to snow in some of the mountains, so I definitely want to get going. Yeah, I don't know what I was going to say. Anyway, should you go to Sardinia? Yes, go to Sardinia. Be aware of the drivers; they're bloody mental. And so that's about it, really. I hope you've enjoyed me rattling on about Sardinia and the perils of riding there. If you have enjoyed it, let me know. Have you been to Sardinia? You know, what do you think? You know, did you enjoy Sardinia? What do you think of the riding? Were there lots of Germans there while you were there? Anyway, that's it for now. There will be another video coming along shortly. So thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time. Bye for now.